He is the founder chairman of K.I.K Group, specialized in electrical engineering field, a chartered engineer, a fellow, Institution of Engineers Technology, IEET, UK, a fellow, Institution of Mechanical Engineers, UK, a fellow, the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. The first K.I.K company was started in 1994 and expanded into manufacturing and exporting modular electrical enclosures and LV electrical switchgear assemblies. K.I.K also is into the trading in electrical switchgear. In 2004, Lalith Kahatapitiya was awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year Platinum Award, which is one of the lifetime award for an entrepreneur. Under his leadership, K.I.K has won Presidential Award for Export and Electronic sector. Lalith is a DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster. He was instrumental in establishing many Toastmaster clubs in Sri Lanka, including several clubs in University of Melbourne. I can remember he is the one who pushed me to the Toastmaster club of IESL when I met him sometime back ago. And also I have heard from his speeches that he had the best job, he had the best salary, and he was thinking why he was working. And he came out leaving all that and he started his own business. Now today he has come to a very high level in Sri Lanka as well as I can say in the world. So today we can see, share his experience, how to become an entrepreneur. And this is not only to bring the young entrepreneurs into the industry, as well as if we can get the seniors also to become entrepreneurs. So over to you, Lalith Kahatapitiya, for your valuable experience to share. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lal. And let me switch on my video also. Thanks, Lal. Today, because we have a few people with us, let us go like make this webinar more like a discussion. But I'll first share a few ideas so that you all can come out with some questions and we can have some discussion based on how best we could take more and more people to become entrepreneurs. So let's first look at if you look at the definition of entrepreneurship in the Oxford Dictionary, it's a bit very uncommon, and I believe it's not suitable for a real entrepreneur. If you look at, just searched it recently, and I found what they say is a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. So when I read it, I feel it's a shameful definition, because I never became an entrepreneur looking for profit, because profit means, again, you look for money, and then I personally believe money is not everything. Of course, money is needed to live and to be in the society. Everyone needs money, but then does it mean that money should be the number one priority in everything? No. It's like if you look at a car needs fuel to go from A to B. But cars are not made to burn fuel. It's made to travel. For the purpose of traveling, yes, you need fuel. So similarly, for the purpose of living, being in the society, you need money. But the purpose of living and working is not to make money, to enjoy and then lead a much better life serving the others. So I would personally like to define entrepreneurship in a different way. So my own definition of an entrepreneur is a person having the freedom to visualize and act in progressing towards a desired goal. Of course, whilst doing that, he will be either adding value to the society or creating wealth to the society, one of the two. But then again, in entrepreneurship, I feel the basic thing what an entrepreneur would enjoy is the freedom of making decisions, and then freedom of making mistakes, I would say. and then there's no one to come and dictate terms. So that itself is enjoyable, and that's the very reason I became an entrepreneur, because my whole idea, my whole ambition was to become an engineer. So as an engineer, I was leading a fantastic life. I had no idea of becoming a businessman or becoming an industrialist or whatever. I enjoyed my job. But then I enjoyed being an engineer, I would say. Whilst in employment, fortunately, I had some restrictions for my own freedom. So I would say fortunately, because that led me to become what I am today. So because of the restrictions to try new things, to try out my own ideas, it was a bit frustrating. And that is what really led me to resign from the employment, which was really a good employment, as Lal explained. And then came out, leaving a good salary and a good, very, very secure employment, left it, and then came out and took the risk of being without any salary, and then started from zero as an entrepreneur. And of course, today, I'm happy that I did it, because the freedom I was looking for at the beginning, from the day I left my employment, I was enjoying. So it's not only the freedom. So what happens when you, as an entrepreneur, you'll have to either produce a product and sell, or make a service and give it to the society. May it be a service or a product. But what makes the difference there is it's not the product itself. A product can be made by anybody. But then again, the reason for making that particular product or service, that's the real important thing in engineering. For an example, if you look at some of the things that we manufacture, one of the products that we do right now is modular enclosures. So one would think, so it's a matter of just making a modular enclosure system where people in the world can buy those components and put together and make their own electrical switchboards. But it's not that. So when we look at what are we going to give the world through this modular system, and the reason for us to make it, first I said I became an entrepreneur to be free, and that's the start. But when it comes to a product or a service, we have to really go beyond and think, why is that product needed? Why is that service needed? What's the difference that we are going to give? So when it comes to our module enclosure system, our purpose of making that was not to make a module enclosure system, but to facilitate the electrical panel builders all over the world, for them to make their own enclosures in a very short time, the way they want. And that facilitation was the driving force behind this whole business. So then that led to a lot of innovations, because we always think, what can we do to make life easier for the customers? What else can we do to make life easier, make it faster, easier to assemble their own switchboards, much easier? What changes can we do into our system? And that's what our R&D is always up to. So that's where the innovation and the entrepreneurship joins, I would say. If you just look at making a product only, then it's very unlikely that we will come out with innovations. For us to come out with more and more innovations, there has to be a purpose. What are we giving through this particular product? Now, another product that we produce in the factory is the electrical switchboards. So if you look at it, people would think, okay, this factory is making switchboards. Yeah, that's the product we are doing. But then why we do it? What the reason Why somebody wants a switchboard is not because he wants a switchboard, but he wants safety and reliability for his electrical system. So what ultimately we are giving is the safety and the reliability. So when you look at that aspect, then we think of, again, new ideas. How can we make it more safer? How can we make this product more reliable? And that's where the R&D comes in and then brings in new ideas, making the product better and better day after day. So especially because today we are talking about entrepreneurship plus innovation, I want to again stress on the importance of trying to find out why a product, why a service is needed by the society. What are we really offering? Is it only the product or the service or the result, that ultimate result that product or service is giving our clients or customers? So just think about it. It's a little different to what we generally think, like making a product and selling. It's slightly different. So as I told you, I had no intention of becoming an entrepreneur, but I was pushed in to the deep sea of entrepreneurship through my own desire to be free, to be to make mistakes freely. Because there's no one to blame. If I make a mistake, yes, it's my decision. I make the mistake, and of course, in employment, I made some mistakes, and in some other places, there had been blames for making those mistakes. So when I get engineers, the new engineers into our company, I always tell them, don't worry about making mistakes. Try new things. Don't think that we are having the best or the perfect systems here. Challenge the systems that we have, and then try to see what else can you come out with, a better systems or better products. So that's where we really need to focus on in entrepreneurship and in innovation. So as I told you, always pay attention to why a product is needed, why a service is needed. So that's really important, but usually people don't do that. If you look at any product, may it be a chair or a table or whatever, we look at it as a chair and a table. But then if you really go beyond that and then try to find out exactly what is that product doing to our end customers and how we can enhance the ultimate use, ultimate requirement of the product or service, that makes a huge difference. So these are some of the thoughts I thought I will talk today, because innovation will come through entrepreneurship if we really go in to why we are making a product. And that led now, when I talk of the modular electrical enclosures, this type of thinking led us to find out a lot of new things, innovate new things, or not only innovate, we invented new systems, new products. All those inventions we managed to patent. So those patents are international patents. And then we did all that because we looked at the product in a different way. It's not as enclosure system, but as a mode of facilitating our customers to make their own enclosures using some of the components, make their own enclosures in the shortest possible time, wherever the world they are. Just we support them to make their own things. So when thinking on those lines, all those innovations or inventions came, and then we managed to put it together and then even patent it so that nobody else can copy. So these are how I would connect the entrepreneurship and innovations. And I always believe to be an entrepreneur or even to make an achiever, everybody needs a few essential things. Now, sometimes we have those qualities, but we are scared to practice this. Number one is to be fearless. To be fearless to fail. And if you think what happens if we fail, that itself is the force that will draw us back from entrepreneurship. If I thought like that, I would never have left a fantastic employment where I was paid a huge salary. I would never have left that employment if I feared of being a failure. There was a good possibility for me to become a failure there. But then that didn't prevent me from leaving that job and getting into a new area of a new field of trying new things. So the number one important thing I always say to be fearless. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to fail. We may fail. If we fail once, we know that we have learned something. Okay, this is going to fail, but then there are better ways again to try. So we know it's again a learning curve. You fail and then don't do that again, do in a different way. Finally, we can reach our objective. So having the confidence that we can reach final objective and being fearless for failure is one of the essential things that we need in becoming an achiever or even getting into entrepreneurship. The other little thing I always see is the moment somebody becomes a failure, they give up. And that happens in many places. For me, I have failed in quite a number of times, but failure does not mean that that's the end of the game. So you fail and then keep on trying until we achieve. So if I keep on talking about failures, I mean, even when I try to do new things in my life from my childhood, I have failed many times. I think K.I.K is my 13th attempt of doing something new on my own, and there were 12 failures from my childhood. If you look at various things I tried from time to time, there were many failures. Like all those, there were reasons for that because I didn't know exactly why I was doing. I was doing jamming, and I was doing gem mining, I was doing agriculture, and I was doing uh, so many things, making watercolors. All those things I did for the sake of doing. But then there was no specific reason. There was no driving force why I was doing it. What is the service I was going to give through, or what is the value addition, or what is the wealth creation I was going to give the society was not clear to me. I believe that was one of the reasons for failure of all those. But then when I started K.I.K, I first wanted to the freedom, which I really started enjoying. And from that day onwards, I still enjoy my life being an entrepreneur, serving the others, creating value for the society, and adding value into the society. All those are things that the benefits that I enjoy being an entrepreneur. So we cannot afford to give up. We can fail, we can fail. How many times we fail doesn't matter, but we need to keep on trying. And these are little things that we have to keep in mind. Now, there's no magic in becoming an entrepreneur. It's just the same things that we all of us know. Everybody knows these facts. But then again, it's the fear that is keeping us away from achievement. And sometimes I have been talking of various things, but common reasons I have seen in many people is they're scared to start. They look at all the possible things. Will I fail if I start? So they have all the fantastic ideas, but sometimes they keep on planning and planning and planning. The planning never ends. And then as a reason, the starting is delayed. So people are scared to fail and they keep on trying to visualize how we can avoid failure, and the time passes by and the opportunity is gone. At the end of the day, we have not done anything. my advice, what I do always is if I get an idea, I don't think too much. I start and then go on and then try. When we go on, we find the next step of how to go ahead. In fact, when we invented this enclosure system about 7-8 years ago, earlier, for many years, we were making only the electrical switchboards. But then after we invented the modular enclosures, we knew that it's a winning product. And then I was thinking, how can I make it? The product design was there, but then I never had the knowledge or the complete knowledge to make it. Although I'm an engineer, there are lots of things that we don't know. Even for a mechanical engineer, there are so many areas. People are not expected to know everything. So what I did is again started. I wanted to set up a factory. So whilst being in the existing one, I was designing a different factory in a small plot of land, which we had in Katunayake inside the free trade zone. But that plot of land was not enough. Then I was thinking, okay, let's go into 5 stories and then design it. So all the designs have been done. And that's during that time only I came across people who had the knowledge about how to do things. The technology they knew. So we recruited them, and then the funds we wanted, fortunately, our finance guys were able to raise it through the banks. And then the land we required all of a sudden appeared close to our factory. We got a call from the free trade zone director's office saying there's a vacant factory getting vacant close by, just to go and have a look whether we are interested. So we went there. And a fantastic building, of course, it was dilapidated and then an old factory building. But it was a 2-acre block, which was ideal for our requirement. So we got it. And that's how we set up that factory. But we started without just waiting for everything to come. When we start, yes, things started coming in. And everything in my life has happened like that. Start and then go on, and then we find our way. It's like going from, say, from your house to the work. You don't see the entire road, but then when you go forward in the road, you see the next turn and where to turn, or the next bend or whatever. The vehicles coming in front of you. All those you experience when you get onto the road and move. But if you try to stay at home and then visualize the entire thing, it's going to be a tedious task. So for us to become entrepreneurs or achievers, the easiest thing that we need to keep in mind is the moment you get an idea, don't think too much. Just start and then go ahead. We might fail, but it's worth failing and trying rather than just waiting without trying. So these are some of the ideas I wanted to discuss with you, but I think we can come out with better ideas, only a few of us here. So let's discuss the ideas I said, or you can come out with different views, and let's take the next time during this session as a more like a discussion. So it's up to you to come up with your ideas or discussions or questions or whatever.
Thank you very much, Lalith, for that very inspiring talk about your experience and how you came up to this level. In your question, in your discussion, you mentioned about the failures. I just like to know, the failures is something that we don't want to have it, but you mentioned that you had 12 failures before you got the correct one. But if you are giving something to a customer, how do you react if the failure happen? How do you overcome that? If you can
I didn't get the question. No, I failed as a business, but all the commitments we always made. You ask about a customer and a failure. There I didn't understand much. The question was not very clear.
The failures are within, not for the customer. Suppose you make a product.
No.
Make a
Always everything was fantastic. Now, for an example, I'll tell you, the last product which was a failure was a liquid blue, because that was about 30 years ago, roughly, more than 30, maybe 30, 35 years ago. We had a thing called Robin blue powder. That's a time that after washing your clothes, the white clothes, there was a powder. I don't know whether it is still. I don't think it's available now. It's called Robin Nil or Robin Blue. You take some powder into your hand, put some water, dissolve it in water, put it into the a bucket, and then put your white clothes in, and it comes out shining. So that was very popular. And I noted when we dip the shirt, sometimes you get those little blue particles here and there, and that was a nuisance. So I thought, can't I avoid it? And then I came out with a liquid blue. So that time there were no email, there were no emails, no fax machines, only telexes were there. So I telex some Japanese companies and then send them these samples, and I said, can you produce a liquid blue and send it to us so that we will dilute it and then bottle and sell. And those guys, one of the companies, produced a lovely blue, which I used to get down and then put into small plastic boxes, plastic bottles, and then sell. And that was the last business which failed. And then, of course, it started becoming popular. We named it as Coca Blue, and we started distributing into the shops. And it failed because I had no idea about marketing. I had no idea about distribution. So what Robin Blue guys did, they put somebody into front, and then they negotiated to buy all our stock and then distribute. So I thought, there's no headache for me also to sell. It's a matter of just making and giving this guy. So later only I understood that it was all done by the Robin Blue guys. So we were importing and then giving this guy, he was buying and then giving us the money also. And he never distributed. He was stocking everything until they developed the Robin Liquid Blue. So the moment Robin Liquid Blue was ready, they flooded the market with it and told us to fly a kite. But then like that, how things fail. But then we never, in my life, I never failed the customers. And whatever the commitment we made, we always have made it.
Very good. From the audience, any other questions that would like to ask?
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, I'm a graduate from the University of Motorola. I just graduated this year. So we have started a company called Ray Engineering Solutions. We are focusing on product development in the product development process for other companies and clients, so on. So in the business plan development process, we got a question. Actually, we are focusing on R&D process, not the operation process after we have finalized the prototype and manufactured the product and everything. So we are not focusing on the operations, but we are focusing on the developing the product only for the client. So let's say if you have a product related to something, a tech product or something, actually in the moment we are building a machine for tea brewing. So we are focusing only on the R&D process. So if we want to build up a partnership, do you have any insights how we should present our product to the partner without getting robbed on our ideas and our patents or so on? So do you have any insights for that? You said before that you have also in your Robin Blue product, I think your partner or your agreement, the person you have wanted to do the operations robbed you during your process. So do you have any insights for that? How we should approach the partnerships and everything when we have the product and when we have the idea, but we don't want to do the operations?
No, it's like this. You need to really find out a vacuum in the market or a requirement in the market and then try to cater for it. I know of, I don't want to give the name, one of the top lecturers in a university called me recently, and he has developed a fantastic product, a high-end product for which there is no demand in the local market. Of course, there's a demand in foreign markets where it's all catered by top companies. So I knew it's very difficult for him to market because he has not found out a vacuum where he can fill and then serve. So if you are doing some R&D, you need to find out your end customer or the requirement where that product is going to fit. Then only you will be able to commercially successfully do it. With this particular lecturer, the product he has made is really wonderful. But then it's such a high-end product which is needed as an input to the sophisticated machinery made in other countries. And the same product is made by giant companies where it's very difficult for him to compete. So if you really know how to present your product into the market, there only your success will depend on how you really identify the requirement. Did I answer your question, or did I really not answer it? You can ask.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, after we are doing that, understand the market and understand the niche markets for our products. So we are pivoting our design process when seeing and understanding those markets. So what we want to know is if we don't want to go for the mass production. Actually, we are only a R&D company. So if the product need to get mass produced, so we need to go for a partnership with some other company. So do you have an insight how we should approach those partners?
Sure. Actually, you need to have an idea of where your customers are in marketing. Now, again, even for an R&D company to find your customers, it's called marketing. You need to identify who will be your prospective customers who would like to take over or manufacture for you, or even manufacture in partnership with you, or buy over the design, or do whatever. So then it's a matter of finding out those people. And then you'll have to find out what is the media you're going to use, whether it's a LinkedIn, or whether it's newspapers, or whether it's social media, or what. There can be so many ways of finding out your own prospective customers. Then also you need to find out, okay, how will I convince them? What message will I send them for them to realize that we have the best product which they can manufacture and then make money? So those are little questions that you need to understand, and then find out the answers yourself, and then go ahead approaching them and then convincing them. And that's the process you need to really think. Spot your prospective customers and then find out how are you going to approach them? What is the media you're going to use? And what's the message you are going to send across to them? And then how will you meet them and then discuss and then convince them to go ahead with you? And then rest, of course, is after becoming a customer, how you look after the customers and how you serve the customers.
So thank you, sir. We got the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lalith, for that good answer. Any other questions from our audience, from senior members?
Yeah, Mr. Lalith. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, Mr. Lalith, I sort of have a question since you have brought up this topic on identifying the vacuum on the in a market. So we have seen many innovations, especially in Sri Lanka and all the other countries, perfect innovations, but when it goes to the market, it fails. So mainly because they have not identified the vacuum on the market. So is there any sort of guideline or a framework when we are looking doing or thinking of an innovation, the sort of framework or rather guideline to be identifying the vacuum and to list down the things that we need to look into?
Well, when it comes to commercial things, yes, you have to really, as I told you earlier, you have to have a clear idea of who will need those items. Now, for an example, I'll tell you, there are certain times where a customer is there, you know that, and then you straight away make the product. Now, for an example, when I was an apprentice in 1976 in the Colombo Ports Authority, there was a requirement of in the foundry. I was a special apprenticeship. I was a special apprentice in the foundry. At that time, I had 4 months to be in the foundry. During that time, there was a huge shortage of some aluminum wheels, which the engineers the port management was trying to give a subcontract to some other private companies. And there was a lot of unrest in the foundry people, and they were talking about striking and then fighting and all that. And I was, as a member of the foundry, I said, now what's the problem? He said, now these guys are going to give it as subcontract, which will threaten our jobs, and then our foundry is going to be threatened. So, but there was a huge backlog. So it's like having a ready customer and something is missing. And that's the time I was thinking, how can I help them? How can I fill this vacuum? And then I got this idea. They were only doing sand casting for that to make that product. So I got this idea, crazy idea of making a die and then doing die casting. And that time in the port, die casting was never heard of. And I was only an apprentice. I was not an expert. But then again, I never feared being a failure. So I straight away went to the top engineering manager, and then I told him, sir, can you give me 2 weeks? I want to try something else. So he asked what? I said, I believe that we can complete the entire backlog if you give me 2 weeks, just to try something to see whether we can make a die and do it. So he laughed and said, okay, tamasakin try kar dena, mang inna sumanu deka. And then, with the help of all the port workers, with the machine shop guys helped me, the foundry guys helped me, and everybody was supporting me. We designed a die, and then we did it. And finally, within 2 weeks, we finished it. And we started die casting in the port, and that was a tremendous success. So it was a new thing we tried, but then it was not for any commercial purpose. But the foundry entire backlog we cleared within a short time. And then there was a ready customer for that idea. So I didn't have to find out new customers. So you get instances where you have ready customers. If you don't have ready customers, you need to have an idea of where those customers will be. Without knowing a very clear idea who our prospective customers will be, making a product might be futile. So then if you know where the customers are, then it's a matter of finding out how to reach them. And now, for an example, for our products, when we are selling in the world, it's a huge challenge. The customers are scattered all over. They are in thousands. We are here in Sri Lanka. How do we send a message to them that we are existing? And then once that message is sent across, how do we then convince them to come into some sort of interaction with us? And then how do we get them to use our product? So all those are little things that we need to really concentrate. It's part of marketing as well. becoming a commercial success in with a product or service, there's a lot that you need to think about the end users. So most of these innovations, Sri Lankan innovations, had failed because for the sake of innovating something or inventing something, people did it, but then either they lacked the knowledge to send it into the market, or they didn't know who the end users are. So there would have been a lot of gaps which were not filled. That's what I think about the question you asked also.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
sir. That's all.
One, yeah, last maybe. Okay, two questions now, Mr. Lalith. What do you think about having a prior experience in established company like you did when you jumping into starting up this panel board business in KIK? You failed. You said you have attempted 12 times. Versus now, if you were to attempt just after graduation, if you did, then you
No, I actually, when I came out as an entrepreneur, I was 40 years.
yeah. So, what is the idea that experience counts?
Well, even actually, some of the people I know who had become an entrepreneurs during their
Retirement.
graduate university time also. Some people have told me, so after listening to your the first day, I used to go and speak at the Kahatapitiya University for 5-6 years. I've been talking in their first day. And later, so many years later, some people have come and told me that they started their businesses while they were at the university after listening to me, and then who are really good successful businessmen right now. Some of the IT guys, and some are having IT companies. So some have done different things. So it's not, it can be even during the graduation time or even after that, or when you're old like me. So time doesn't matter very much, as long as you know exactly the idea of why a product is needed and how to make it and how to market it.
Yeah, my follow-up question regarding the current situation of the country for becoming an entrepreneur. Now, now, compared to the time you started the company versus now, there is economic crisis, and what challenges, additional challenges, we being as in Sri Lanka trying to be starting up something new and making some money and have a passion for whatever we are doing. Still, we are, I mean, with the especially government inconsistent policies of import regulations. I have heard several stories. Some companies are shutting down because there is no consistent policies of imports, and then suddenly government take a decision. So there is no room for the new startup to do that value addition. So the local value addition is minimum when they import the full version or the full product from China or somewhere for the half the price or cheaper price, and there are sellers like that. So if you want to like substitute to that, there is no encouragement as such as I know. So what is your idea about that inconsistent policies versus this and this crisis situation now to do a startup and becoming an entrepreneur?
It's like this. The policies and things, I wouldn't say it's inconsistent because we are anyway trapped with the WTO regulations. Temporarily, we can have relief, but all these systems are made in such a way that some of the top giant nations have tied developing countries like us to be every day being in the state of developing. They never want to allow us to get developed. So all the steps have been done to ensure that, and this is the reality. If you listen to the speeches of Dr. Howard Nicholas, which is on the internet, I can even share it with you, some of the speeches, who is a dear friend of mine, Dr. Howard Nicholas. who is a Netherlands, the Danish, no, Netherlands. He's from Netherlands, and he knows about Sri Lanka very well. He had been in Sri Lanka. He was born in Sri Lanka. His parents were in Sri Lanka when he was born. So he very clearly says that even the privatization of NDB and DFCC was because of that. So we cannot protect local products with the WTO agreements we have signed. Temporarily things can be done. So that we need to keep in mind. Whatever the government that comes into power, these will be there. So it will be temporarily. But there are ways that we need to think how best we could do things. In fact, even right now, I'm also involved in exercise to understand why we have faced this situation and what could we do. And we have already communicated with certain government authorities which had really accepted those ideas, and then trying to find out how to get out of these as a nation. So we have to also understand the traps we have got into already. So we have to live with it. There's no way that we can now get out of all those agreements. So providing protection is impossible for anyone. So but then there are quite a lot of ways. You need to really, if you think, for an example, a little good example is the way how the Pakistan government central bank, or under the leadership of Imran Khan, beat the Undial money transactions. In Pakistan, they were getting a big revenue from the foreign, the migrant workers. They at that time in 2020, it was somewhere about $23 billion. That's in addition to what the Undial guys were taking. So this was going down. And what they did, they came out with a very innovative solution to beat the competition from Undial and then get the Pakistani migrant workers to use the government channels. They introduced the app, and then they discussed, they introduced various incentive systems. And within 2 years, the moment they introduced, the next year, it became from 23 billion to 29 billion or something. The remittances increased. The next year, it was some 31.5. So like when our remittances were going down, their remittances were going up. Now with the central bank, so we also discussed this matter with the central bank. And then now they have come out, now they have, anyway, this app, we have introduced the app some time back, but it was never combined with a lot of incentives and awareness. So now central bank has started doing it. So like that, even the national level, if we get involved with ideas and then things, we can change this national crisis, as well as even coming up with new ideas of getting into. So for us personally, because we are in the international market, we are not feeling it very much. But in the local market, if you have been doing a business, there are lots of challenges. Raw materials are not there. It's difficult to buy. So we have to think of different, changing our ways of working, and then finding out what else can we do instead of doing the same thing that we used to do. It's tough. Definitely it's going to be tough. But there are ways to get in. At the same time, contribute our knowledge and everything to supporting the government, various departments and officials in getting into new things.
So most of your customers are, almost all customers foreign.
Mostly, yes. Yeah, some for switchboards we sell in the local market. Electrical switchboard we do. That's also mostly for big projects and duty-free projects, and then huge industrial projects, but not for the domestic market. But otherwise, it's foreign customers.
The local inflation, how would it affect your local operation? The inflation now, there's a hyperinflation kind of things, and in terms of wages paid to the workers?
No, it's definitely it's affecting. It's not easy. It's a tough time. It's like a time. It's like a time where if you are in a ship, we have faced a storm, but that doesn't mean that the ship is that's the end of the journey. We have to low lie and then face it, and then somehow other help the people to get out of it, to steer this ship out of danger. It's tough. It's definitely we have to stop a lot of additional extra items that we have been doing, and then come into a situation where we manage with the minimum expenses. Now, for an example, travel we had to cut down, and I used to travel from Colombo some days to Katunayaka on my push bicycle. So just to
I saw the pictures.
just to set an example to the others, and of course I enjoy cycling. So it's interesting when you look at things in a new way, and then because of lack of fuel, I started cycling, and I enjoy it. I know it helps me to remain in better health. So you have to keep on changing with the situation, and then manage in different ways, but somehow or other survive during this difficult time until the things are better.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Lalith, I think we got two good points from this discussion. One is, as you said, when to become an entrepreneur at any age. You started at 40. Young people, even what you said is correct now.
I think the McDonald's guy was 70 or something when he started.
McDonald's guy was 65, not McDonald's. Kentucky 65. McDonald's, I don't know.
Yeah, Kentucky, not the McDonald's. Sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Then, no, what you said is correct. You must find what's the need. Now you've been a mechanical engineer, I think, but you mainly concentrated on electrical things. Now, I'm a mechanical engineer. I end up in the construction industry. Now, construction industry is collapsing now. Now, there are a lot of concrete batching plants. Most of them closing down. Even one is in the verge of closing. I'm also has come out. But as you said, you have to keep thinking, people, as you said, if there's no fuel, you must use a bicycle, or if you have an electric car, use the electric vehicle. Likewise, I'm also trying to think differently. As you said, you can become an entrepreneur at any age. Now, there is the cement brick prices has gone up, there is, because you can't find aggregate, you can't find crushed stones, M-sand, cement is short. But now they have developed the system, the soil bricks, and they have developed machines as well. And a lot of people are unable to build houses because of this high price of bricks, So my thinking is, just to get the technology and make these machines, hand machines, and they might not be able for them to buy this one because it is quite expensive. It's comes about 350, 400,000 a unit or something. If you can make something and give it to these people on a rent or something, or teach them so that they can build their own houses using their soil from the same land, because you do excavation for a foundation, other thing, and you add only about 10% of cement, then these bricks, you don't need what do you call the mason bars to do it, because mason bars is also expensive. Mason bars and a helper a day it comes about nearly 9,000 to 10,000. So they can do it by themselves. So I'm just thinking of trying to set up that kind of a business, and the people who are coming out of employment from our companies being terminated, to help them. So that kind of thinking.
That's brilliant. Yes.
Yeah. So likewise, what is I'm always telling.
Lal, your voice is cracking. It's not clear.
Meeting once a month in your association. Yeah, some of the senior engineers who are in our system in the association, what is your message for them, for them to become entrepreneurs and to
I
do
think there's a
something to help
question,
this
two
country?
questions. Somebody, two hands I have seen being raised. So can we ask them also to talk?
Raymond, yeah. Raymond, can you answer
Hello,
that
sir.
question?
Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Actually, I wanted to ask. I'm also an entrepreneur. I started my business in 2018. So usually they say it will take around 3 years or 4 years to break even the investments. So how long did you take to break even your investments and to get into the profit zone? So it would be a motivation to others also, just to keep consistent, persistent throughout their journey. Thank you.
In my case, of course, my investment was very little. So
Okay.
it was virtually nothing. So I
Okay.
started like a domestic industry.
Okay. While you expand, you should have built some big factories and put on a lot of cash,
course,
if
yes.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
No, as you say, yes, it can be 3 years, it can be 5 years, or it can be even more. But what happens is whether you need to make sure that you are steadily in the right direction and monitor the progress is in the right direction.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Thank you very much for that. That's it.
There's another hand raised.
Yeah. Who is calling
Prashant.
that? I can't.
Good evening. Yeah,
Please speak.
now under these present economic conditions, right now, if we are doing some research development and then making our own product, should we not concentrate on a locally manufactured input? Like, if you are going to get imported inputs, right, the cost of these products will be very high and people will not be encouraged to buy it. So even if you have a market, if it is very costly with the input from various countries, under this present economic condition, we may not be able to market these products. Isn't it better for us to develop our own inputs at this moment of time and then develop our products and market it?
This is the ideal time for us to develop products and, of course, be ready with better pricing so that even we can meet international competition as well. But it will be tough. It will be tough. But at the same time, it's not only the price. For a product, the brand name matters a lot. So if local entrepreneurs can come out with new products, at the same time build their brands very close to the hearts of the people, it will be difficult for everyone, the others, to come from outside and then break it even with cheaper prices. For an example, if you can remember, there was a brand those days for memories, Kimbula Udelle. Anyone looking for a memory will look for Kimbula at whatever the price. It can be double the price of any other brand. But then people will go and ask for Kimbula Udelle. So similarly, we have to keep in mind, if the local entrepreneurs really think of coming out with new items, at the same time branding them in a way that it will be close to the heart of the people, then that's the only way that we can face international competition. Otherwise, we are not protected. We are exposed to all the dangers with all these WTO regulations and the agreements that we have already signed. It's definitely a matter of branding.
Yes.
So now actually, present days, startups with IT, they profit. But startups, when you're going to produce something, that is where we struggle a lot. We can't market it, we cannot sell it, we cannot get the inputs. So we have to develop our own inputs. If we can do that, the startups may develop in the future. The ideal situation, the economic situation is ideal, but once we develop and sometime later when we open up and then various products come from China, our products will get,
No, don't think like that. We have a problem of really getting into the international market now. So
Yeah.
recently there was a discussion with the governor, and after talking about these Pakistan things, then I asked him, why don't the central bank start getting these foreign companies like Daras, which is owned by Alibaba Group,
Yeah.
to sell local products to international markets? Now, a man who is making a batik shirt in Anuradhapura should be
Yeah.
able to sell his shirt
Yeah.
to somebody in Washington. So the moment I said this idea, he's a very, I was really happy with the answer he gave. He said, yes, I have already told that to them in the morning today, he said.
Yeah.
I met him somewhere last week, or it was last week. And he said, yeah, we met. They came to me in the morning today asking for US dollars to get their imports. I said, yes, you can have the dollars, but then first earn the dollars into the country by exporting Sri Lankan products to other countries.
Yeah.
So facilitate that. So he had given the message. If we, in fact, I told some of the chambers, and tomorrow also I'm going to meet another chamber and get the chambers also to pressurize them to do that. Serve our local people to reach international markets straight. It can be a shirt, it can be a hat, or it can be a pang topi or anything. As long as it goes out of the country and reach the international markets, then of course we have a good chance.
Actually,
So,
Daras in their product list have lots of local products.
yeah, but that is into the local market. They are
Local
selling in the local market. What we want is use that service to display the same products in maybe AliExpress or something, which is in the international markets. And then get it outside, because Dara's LK is only used by us in Sri Lanka. So for us, we can buy our local products through them. But what really they should do is facilitate Sri Lankan products in their other group website, group e-commerce sites like AliExpress.
So the ideal situation would be now, as a startup, the innovators can get to Daras if that works, and then market their product overseas as well.
Exactly. It's and the other thing I would suggest is places like Export Development Board and even the Industrial Development Board. I think that is some of the suggestions that we need to take to them, which are not being done. They should now educate people how to market their stuff. The problem with our producers is they have no idea of marketing. They are brilliant in manufacturing. They are brilliant in producing. But then if the marketing knowledge is not there, it's going to be a failure. So even that I experienced that in many times with my lack of knowledge in marketing. I failed many times. But then if these institutions educate people in systematic marketing, it's the best way, because it's difficult. Even if you follow a marketing degree, it's just theory. So it's more than theory. There are lots of common areas that you need to think, like some of the ideas I shared at this forum, finding out where the prospective customers are, and then how to reach them, what media to use, what message to send across to them, and how to be in touch with them, all those little things. If we can educate these small people, even through IMechE, can push these ideas through to various institutions. Yes, that will really work. So we have to now we have to start from the beginning. We have hit the rock bottom.
Yeah.
So it's a hard way that we have to come up, but we can come up. Definitely we can come up. There's no way there's no place for us to fall now. We have hit the bottom. So the only way for us is again to come up.
Now, very recently we went to NERD. This IMechE group went to NERD, a visit to that place, and we found they have developed lots of products, and then many of those things have not come to the market. It's still displayed there.
Don't you think it's lack of their marketing. Then actually, I also was an employee of NERD in 1981. But again, at NERD, what we did was only R&D and producing something and then putting it on record. But have you seen any systematic marketing at NERD?
Yeah.
So it doesn't go into the people.
That's what Lalith, I also thought, I saw some of the things. In fact, long time ago, some of the cooking facilities, I brought the technology and I made it and I donated to the temples and people, even the rice cooker with the coconut shell, and I did that before this gas issue came. That's why that once I come out, I must pick up one or two those good inventions, and we must at least try to produce it and help the nation. So likewise,
Exactly.
I want to tell all other senior members, those things which you can afford. You don't have to invest a lot, as you said. Invest a little and may start small. As long as you can find the market, that's where we are weak. As you said, you are right. We are very weak on marketing.
Before you finish, Lal, I want to share another information to all the entrepreneurs who are here. There's a little book which is available in Amazon.com and probably in the EZ library. You might be able to get it even free. Even if you buy from Amazon, it's very cheap, $2-3 maximum. But one of the best books in marketing. Just get that book and then read. It's a very interesting book by an Australian guy called Alan Dibb. ALLANDIB, Alan Dibb. And the name of this book is One Page Marketing Plan. The figure 1 page marketing plan. And anyone doing a business, I would strongly recommend to read that. That gives the basic steps that you need to follow in taking your product to your end customers. It's a very, very simple way. In fact, I wrote a review some time back after seeing it. I said, it's much better than many of the PhD courses offered for marketing if somebody reads this book.
Very good. Thanks for the advice. There's another one hand raised. I don't know who. I forgot to get there.
Lal, this is Lasantha.
Yes,
Lasantha.
Yeah.
Mr. Lalith, so my question is a bit of different questions. To survive in this arena, especially in this crisis, you should have very specific products when you go to the market. When you find very specific products in the market, I mean, you must be innovative and you must challenge for the existing system, and you have to find the product. And when you challenge your existing systems, always you have to think out of the box. When you think out of the box, most of the time, so others will feel so this fellow is finding very crazy product, and so it will kill your reputation. So then what is your advice to the new entrepreneurs without killing their reputation to find innovative product?
Can you give an example? The question was not that clear. Any example can you give?
Let's say we produce something. So we produce. We are looking a system, or let's say the machines we are producing, right? So when we producing that machine, the market, you have so many products like that. So to come out your products from those products, you must be very specific. Your product should be very specific. To find very specific product, you must be innovative. I mean, your product should be innovative. Okay, let's say your productivity is much better than other machines, or your quality should be much better than other machines. Those kind of the general parameters. When you comparing general parameters, so it has to come out from the other products. So when you do it like that, most of the time the failure is it's hand in hand. So then what will happen is, so when you are in this what you call innovating process, it is very painful, because most of the people, they are very reluctant to make products like that because of this. I mean, when they think out of the box, and when others may feel these people are doing very crazy thing. So then I mean, without killing that reputation, how can we survive in this market? I mean,
And I think even now, say for an example, there are big car companies who are making very reputed cars. They are also using other companies, but in the name of other companies, cheaper cars. So it's different markets. But as I told you at the beginning, when you are making a product, we have to have a clear idea of why the product is made, the ultimate purpose of that product. It's not just the name of the product, but what is the ultimate use of the product and who the clientele will be. They were depending on if there are products like that. They can come out with a different company name and different brand name and then get that product into the market. Like most of these huge car companies, very, very high-end car companies selling much cheaper cars under different brand name.
That's a big game.
Okay, thank you.
I think any other questions? I think it's come to the end of the program. I think we have gone over 15 minutes now. So on behalf of IMechE Sri Lanka Group, I thank for organizing this very important topic of today. And we had a very prominent, very experienced entrepreneur who gave us a lot of ideas. In fact, even I got a lot of ideas because I'm trying to be an entrepreneur myself. And how to do the market, that's another thing, which any entrepreneur want to become a good entrepreneur, you must find the market. And you can produce something, if you can't find the buyers, then you can't, you have to live with it, then
Exactly.
only you comes saying that you are losing. So I think we learned a lot from this program. One request from me to Lalith, you should be in touch with our IMechE, as we have been with us for many years. Those days, all of a sudden you broke away, maybe because of your commitment with your work and other things. On and off, please drop in and give more ideas.
Sure.
That will be added advantage. So, on behalf of IMechE, once again, I thank you very much for taking your time and giving this wonderful presentation. Thank you very much.
Wish you all the very best and success.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much, Mr.